Hi viewers, and welcome to the channel, and welcome to another episode of the Learning the FreeCAD Curves Workbench mini-series. Now if you're new to the channel, normally at the weekend we look at the basic features and use of FreeCAD, and then during the week we look at something a bit more advanced. So at the moment of running this Curves Workbench series, we're going to be moving on to other workbenches in the near future. We're going to be following up a video on the sketch on surface. Now I left off wondering what this extra object was on sketch on surface. I've learned a bit more about that extra object now, and I'm going to be showing you how to use that with external sketches, external part workbench objects such as text from an SVG, so converting text to a path and then importing that from Inkscape, and also a macro in there to make hexagon surfaces or any surface that we can create as a mesh and wrap that around the curved surface. So I hope you're enjoying these videos, and let's have a look at this technique. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. So I've got FreeCAD open. I'm going to create a surface and demonstrate the feature on the tool. So I'm just going to create a simple sketch in here along the XY plane, and we're going to create some geometry in here. So I'm going to create a B-spline for the surface, like so. Hit escape to get the mouse pointer back. I'm working at quite a small scale, but that's fine. So we've got that B-spline there. I'm going to take that sketch and I'm going to extrude it over in the part workbench just to make a surface. So extrude this up, and we're going to be going along the Z axis, and we're going to extrude that something like 20 millimeters. We're quite small scale here, so that's fine. So 20 millimeters that way. Now bring this around, and I'm going to create a sketch upon here. So we go over to the sketcher and just give yourself a bit of room for that start page. And we're looking at this face. We can actually select that face and create a sketch upon that face. And I'm looking at just a square sketch that covers that face just for the time being. And we can set these lines as construction geometry. So all these lines need to be set as construction geometry, or at least two lines. Set those as construction geometry there. Close that. So we've got that sketch attached to here, going across there. You can see how that's attached. It's going across that way. Let's come over to the curves workbench now. So remember, if you haven't got this installed, it's under Tools, Add-on Manager. You can install it from there. And click this face, control click the sketch, and use the map a sketch onto the surface. That will map that sketch onto the surface, and you can see the two lines that are not construction geometry have been mapped across there. We must have two lines that are construction geometry, otherwise we're going to get ourselves into issues. I'm going to turn on the little tool, this one here with GeoInfo. So click that, and I'm going to bring our extrude back. What this allows me to do is, if I hide the sketch in here, so this sketch here, just press the space bar, you can show and hide that sketch there. You can see we've got that sketch going across here. Let's just click on this sketch here, sketch on surface, and hide that one, and hide the sketch inside. I'm going to use the GeoInfo, this one here, and I'm going to hover over one of the lines and click it. This tells me the length of that line, so that's 26.082. I can use that in my sketch, and we look at the line that we want. So it's this line here, I believe. So that one's set as 20. So it's a curved line, so we want to set this as 26.02. Set a length on that. Click on it. You You can see I've got the wrong one because I ran the wrong way. So it's actually a height. There we go. And we can set that one as 2602. So that sets the right length of there. We'll close that. Let's bring back our sketch. So that geo info is very handy. So that's pressed at the moment. So any edge I select, it'll give me information including the length of that edge. So this one here, 26.082. So we can just go in there and just modify that. Got 2602. So let's do 082. There we go. And this one should be 20. So let's set the, so we've got the right one. Yep. So 20 on that. So that's correct now. And I'm just going to take this point and this point here and the center point and just do those symmetrical. So we've got our sketch now on there. That's sitting there. And we've got the two guidelines showing, so we can know if we put anything on this sketch in here, they will be in there. And that is the key for our next part. So we're going to set the geo info off. We're going to do our next part now. And that's actually place something on this surface. We're going to be using a little feature in here called the extra object. So in my last video, I didn't use this because I wasn't quite sure how to use it. I've now learned how to use this. So I'm going to bring this to the table now so you can utilize it in your modeling. If we place any object on here, whether it's flat, 2D, 3D object on here, then we can use that extra object. If we have a number of objects on here, we can use that extra object and it will actually put them on that face. So for demonstration purposes, if I come over to the part workbench and click on rear or click on top, front, actually front, let's bring that into view. And I'm going to create a cube and a cylinder and transform those into place. So we'll transform them inside this space here. So okay, that, click on the cube, right click, transform, and transform this into here as well. So we've got those two inside these lines. All we can do now is click on the sketch on the surface, come down to the extra objects, click on the end and select the cube, hit OK, and what will happen is when I click off, that cube will be reflected on that surface. So if I press the spacebar on here, you can see that cube there. Notice that because it's 3D, we've got two edges here. So it's best to use 2D objects on here. So come back to sketch on surface, extra objects, so we can add multiples to this. Just click on the cylinder as well and hit OK. Click off. That cylinder has been reflected on there, though it's just taken the line of the cylinder. You can see it's been reflected on there. So how does this come in handy when we're creating sketches on surface? So I'm just going to remove the cylinder and the cube from view, so that's cleared out those extra objects there. Still got the extrude there. We could use an SVG on here. So if I load in an SVG, I'll make one over in Inkscape. So I've got Inkscape open, I can come in and just write some text on here. Like so. Let's bring this up to the top because SVG will always be positioned at 0, 0 at the top. It's just a very simple SVG there. Zoom in. So we've got that there. So I want to go path, object to path, and then file, save as. I'm going to place it on my desktop. I've got a drawing already on my desktop, so I'm going to save over the top of that, place that, and now I can come back, go to file, import, Now we'll drop this down to SVG as geometry. There's two SVGs in there, one as file or one as drawing, this one here, and the SVG as geometry. Double click that, that imports that there. So you can see that's imported. And those are imported as paths. So each one is a separate path in there. And we'll come over to the draft workbench. This is a bit large, but we'll work with this for the time being. I may take a few of these words off. So something just like mango or something like that. And we'll just take these two and click and upgrade those. Let's upgrade them as a face, two faces there. And we can take the one we want to keep, the one we want to get rid of, come over to the part workbench and make a cut. Yes, so let's cut those. So we've got that one there. And we've got this one here. We'll just upgrade that as well over in the draft workbench. So we've got two faces. For now, I'll just use those two because otherwise it's going to take a bit too long to actually get these all right. So take all those, just hide them for the time being. So we've got the text there. And we can transform this around and move it around the right way. So let's flip this around this way. Should have done the other one at the same time, but that's fine. Get the other one, right click, transform, and we'll bring this around. So we've got those two there. And at the moment, if I look at the front, the M's in there and the A's outside, so we can right click, transform and push those into position like so, and do the same with the other one. So those are sitting there, the cut and the face. Now we can come onto the sketch on surface, come down to the extra objects, click that, and click the cut. OK that. Let's place the A on there, like so, and we'll do the same for the other one. So come down, this is face 2. Select the sketch on surface, extra objects, come in, select the face 2. OK, click off. Let's place that there. So we can hide these two now. We've got those sitting there. We can come into the sketch, come down and play with the reverse U and V. To get those into position of where we want them. We've still got the guidelines here, and that will be placed along there. And we can come down and swap UV as well, so set that to true. Places it the other way. And what I'm going to do is come into the sketch on surface and have a look where those guidelines are. So those are the guidelines here, which are construction geometry. So we've set these two to construction geometry. So that one as construction. Same as this one. Hit close. Still got this one down here, which is this one. There we go. So you can see we've got the curve going through those. So click on the sketch and surface. Fill face is true. So fill those faces. Set the thickness to 2. And that's created those with a thickness now. We can also do this with like meshing or something like Hexagon mesh that you create in Inkscape. There is also a macro that you can download, and we can come over to macros, and I haven't got it installed. So if I come on to the add-ons, come on to macros, and we look down this list, there should be a macro somewhere called Honeycomb. Which one is it? Is it this one? It's this one here, this Honeycomb one. So install, update selected. This one's been installed, hit close. So we've got the Honeycomb there. And when we execute that, you may have to restart FreeCAD the first time. If you start getting errors, you might have to restart it. So that will just create the file in there, hit OK. And what will happen is that it creates this honeycomb biscuit basically sitting here. And we can change this. I'm going to get rid of, matter of fact, I'm going to get rid of everything. So all of them, all the way up, and these faces, and just leave that honeycomb there. And what we'll do, click on the honeycomb, and there's a lot of different features down here. So we can get rid of the border, so zero out the border. Change the elliptical grid to false to make that square. Set the height to something like 0.1. Flattens that out. Length we can increase to, I'm going to say 30. The radius is the radius of the hexagons, so we're going to increase that up to 6. But a bit lower, so that's 5. So you've got hexagons coming out there. We can set the X and Y offsets as well. So when we increase these X and Y offsets, hit Control R, you can see those are moving. One thing to remember, that this isn't parametric because this is a macro that's creating these. So these faces won't be parametric because they're recreated each time when the macro is changed. So if we add a face binder or anything to this, or using the Curves Workbench solid, parametric solid, then this will break if we change the underlying structure. So just watch out for that. So we can create a shape with the honeycomb, and what we can do is come into the part, and we'll just use a simple cylinder for this. Let's just hide this honeycomb for a second, and let's give this some width and height. So height of 20, radius of 5, and we'll come over to the Curves Workbench. So back over onto the Curves Workbench, click on that surface, and we'll unwrap that surface. So using the sketch, map sketch on the surface, and what we should have, I'll click map sketch, we've got a nice unwrapped surface. If we didn't have this, we would actually have to do it the same as what I did before, where I selected the surface, created a sketch, and then added this geometry in here, and do it that way. I'm going to take this line and make that normal geometry, and this line is normal geometry. So when I hit close, the sketch will be sitting there, and that's coming to map sketch. There we go, that map sketch there. So this is wrapped all the way around like so. If I did the tops, let's come into the map sketch, double click that, and change these back. So these two here, change those back to construction, change these to normal. Then you can see those tops are wound around the top there. So we've now got an idea of where to place our hexagon mesh. So bring back the honeycomb mesh. We know the length of these, or we could use our geometry info. So click on that, we get the length, so click on that. So that's length of 31.416 because this is an unwrapped cylinder. So click on the honeycomb, come down to the length. Moment it's 30, which is this way. We want the length going across this way, which is 15. I'm going to change it to 31.5. That's 31.50. So 31.50. And we can use the transform. Look at the placement, the position. Got the X and Y there, so we can transform that along the X and along the Y. Need to change the height of this, so the length along here was also the height of our cylinder. Our cylinder was, come down, height of 20. So our honeycomb, the height of the honeycomb, length of the honeycomb, that one's got to be 20. Come up back up to the placement, looking to transform it along the Y, and we can place it in there like so. I'm going to use the honeycomb, just increase the separation. So this is the separation, this is the separation between these two. So each of the cells. So we've set that to 1, get a bit of separation in there. So we've got the separation in there, we've got that positioned. We can change the configuration of the honeycomb by coming down to the X and Y. To change that, Control R. And you can see that honeycomb is shifting left and right, and we've got the Y as well there. So we've got those into position. Let's go back into our sketch before we map that and just change these back, these two back to construction geometry. So now I've hit a problem because I've actually changed the wrong geometry. So I've changed construction mode to normal mode. That leaves no construction geometry on that sketch on surface face, which causes Curves Workbench to crash. So I'm going to have to go back and actually redo that. I'm not going to go through the process of doing that. I'm going to pause the video, recreate that scene, and come back to you. Okay, we're back to where we was. This time I'm going to come into the map sketch and make sure I get the right one this time. So I'm going to click on this one, change it, and then click on the bottom one and change it so they're all construction mode. Hit close. Now we need to take this face, because at the moment this is a 3D object. So you can see it's a 3D object here. So we're going to take this face and use make a parametric solid for selected faces, or we could use extract subshape. So that extracts out that subshape because this is not parametric, so we don't have to worry about it being a parametric solid. So I'm just going to extract out that subface there, because if this changes, then this actually won't change. So if the honeycomb changes underneath, then this won't change. So if we look at the honeycomb face, we can see it's not actually connected to anything, which is fine. So that's a single face now, so we can take that face, come over to the sketch on the surface, come down to the extra objects, click on there, click on the honeycomb face, hit OK, and then that maps it to that cylinder. Press the spacebar on that cylinder, you can see how that's mapped across there. Let's take the geo info off. Let's just hide that face now. And what we can do is use that sketch on surface, fill faces to true. You can see we've got some problems here. We've got this face here. So we can deal with that. No problems there. Because normally what would happen is come in and add a thickness to this. Say 1 on there. That's added the thickness to that. And if we wanted to change any of this, what we can do is come into the sketch on surface, come over to the part workbench, and we're going to use the part compound, explode compound. So this has exploded that sketch into separate pieces. So you can see those there. So you can see this piece here and this piece here. So we've got those pieces separated out. And then we could take, say, this structure as a piece that we want to keep, piece that we want to remove, and use a cut against them. So let's cut that from that structure there. So you can see how we can easily resolve those issues. So I hope that's helped. That sheds light on the sketch on surface, extra objects there. Remember, we can add multiple objects in here if we wanted to add multiple in there. And we can create some nice, interesting structures like so. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire. And that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content. And that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you again soon.